Hey fam, I want you to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications. Now, another story that we were focusing on, keeping you updated, has a very tragic and sad end. That is Amber Evans, the young Columbus, Ohio activist who went missing on January 28th. Remember, her car was found just outside on the banks of a river there in Ohio. Well, over the weekend, her body was recovered from that particular river, and it was identified as 28-year-old Amber Evans. The police have not released any information regarding the cause of death. Evans' boyfriend of 10 years, who has been cooperating with police, said they argued that day. There were no reports of any domestic violence in that relationship. Now, we do not know why or how Amber Evans died, but we do know that being a committed activist, as she was, can take a big emotional toll. Now, her mother released a video this weekend on Facebook when that information came out. And so we could actually play that video of her mother. It was really sad to see her actually release that video. Here's what her mom had to say. All right, so in a sec, so what we'll do is, folks, we'll try to pull that video up. It was really a troubling video, and it was a sad video as well. And the reason this story is so hard is because previously in Ohio, there was a black activist who took his own life. We've seen stories out of Ferguson where a variety of African Americans have actually been shot and killed, some who also took their own life as well. There are other stories that we've been reading about. Ashley Yates, a prominent activist who was in Ferguson, who's now moved to the Bay Area. She's talked openly on social media about being an activist and how it has been such a traumatic and emotional toll on her as well. So they're telling me we don't have the video of the mother. Here we go.
I just want to go on Facebook and let you guys know that we find it so disrespectful that people are trying to capitalize and get recognition off of the news that we just heard about my daughter. It's a shame that you guys can't even give us a moment to just take it in, just to breathe. I'm getting phone calls after phone calls, and I understand people are concerned. I understand that people care. I understand that people want to let us know that how they feel. But what about how we feel at this moment? I hear that Channel 10, 6, and 4 have all gone on to tell you guys that yes, my baby's gone. And it is true. So what are we supposed to do with that at this moment? Is we're supposed to gather with our family, with my children. Even though I asked social media not to be blasted with stuff, to give us time. I asked the media to give us time. But yet, and I even got a call from Channel 10 asking me how I felt about them airing it, and they still went on and did it anyways. I asked for just a moment of time to ourselves so that my family could be able to all find out, so that my family could be able to take that moment to just come together and love, and friends to come by and family to come by and just to sit and be with each other. But no. Everybody still wants to do it.
I want to go to our panel here. Dr. King, when he was assassinated, doctor said that his heart literally was that of a man almost 70 years old. I cannot remember her name right now. She was the white mother who was protesting the war. And it was like 3 straight years during George W. Bush's presidency. And then she said, you know what, I got to step away from this. The average person out there, we're watching these activists and we're seeing them and we're seeing them at news conferences and at rallies and leading protests, not understanding what's happening behind that. Yeah. The number of individuals in Black Lives Matter who've talked about sleeping on the couches, losing their apartments, the health issues they have, the trauma, the PTSD, having to deal with another case, being triggered by videos, And so we don't necessarily understand how major this is and how impactful it is on the lives of the individuals who are fighting these issues.
Roland, the stress will kill you. Simple stress will kill you. These folks are under enormous stress, and they're young people who are making a difference, but they're making a difference often without being affirmed. Many of them don't have full-time jobs. How do they live? I mean, they talk, the couch surfing, they're going from city to city. You talk to some of them, their commitment is unassailable, but the stress is also inexplicable. And I think that there's not enough empathy for them and not enough empathy for the ways that they live. We saw with the, after the Parkland, two young people.
Now we have two partners who committed suicide. There also were students at the Columbine who survived, who also committed suicide as well.
And this is a combination.
And then today, at a town hall in Connecticut, the father, one of the Sandy Hook children, he committed suicide at the town hall.
And, again, we're not dealing with the stress of what these people have to deal with. And as I said, stress will kill you. These are very young people who have not fully formed their identities, but they're stepping up.
I want to pull in Dr. Jeffrey Gardere, who joins us right now. So, Dr. Gardere, a lot of these activists, young folks who saw an issue, they want to get involved. Then all of a sudden, it continues and it continues, and they look up and it's a year or 2 or 3 years later, then all of a sudden it comes crashing down on them. I remember reading Harry Belafonte's autobiography, his memoir, where he talked about sending John Lewis and Fannie Lou Hamer and some other activists to an African country on vacation because they need to get away. And for a lot of people, we don't think about the need for activists to get away because of how stressful and difficult this work is.
That's right, because it's not just about being able to get a message out there. In many ways, maybe their catharsis, especially when we're looking at the youngsters involved in Parkland, that massacre. But once they are out there, they're up against not just getting a message out there. They're up against trolls, internet trolls. They're up against politicians who are dead set against what it is that they're doing. They're up against populations of people who see them as enemies. They're up against conspiracy theorists. So the stress and the pressure, as Julianne Malveaux has said, is just absolutely enormous. At the end of the day, these are still children. And I think many of us fooled ourselves into thinking, we got the formula. The formula is if they've been through one of these shootings and they become activists, that will do it. But that can add on a lot of stress, a lot of pressure, and they still need to get that therapy. They still need to be treated therapeutically, and we have to stop treating them as adults. They are still children, even though they are doing some amazing things out there.
So, Doc, what do we do? So what systems should be in place? Because, again, when we talk about the civil rights movement, the Black freedom movement, the reality is if you look at most conversations, you don't have discussions about self-care. They were just figuring out as they went along. Now it's a whole different set of issues. Now you also have individuals who are attacking activists on social media. They are going after them in many ways. Some of them have been sued by municipalities as well. And so it's a whole different set of issues that they're now dealing with. And so, what systems should be in place for them? Because unfortunately, and this is one of the things I kept saying to Black Lives Matter activists, when you don't have organizational infrastructure to provide those things, you're sort of out there along winging it.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the first things I think a lot of the activists need to learn about rules of engagement. What are the things that they need to avoid? Where do they find their strength? I think that's very important. You put the other part together, Roland. It is about the self-care. When do we take a break and be able to rest? When do we rest our souls and our minds? And another thing that we need is, of course, being able to debrief. What does it feel like to be that activist? What does it feel like to be attacked all the time? What does it feel like to do impossible work? So that needs to be discussed. It's part of a therapy, but it's part of a catharsis, and it's part of sharing. And you can't be a hero and shero just by yourself. It has to be the community.
And last question for you. What should also be taking place in terms of from one activist to the other? Because, again, we've seen a number across the country. I know of a gentleman who was in Ohio who shot himself, and some other places as well, where they've taken their own lives because they literally, just cannot handle seeing and being involved with case after case after case of black men and black women being gunned down by cops. And show what discussions should be being held among activists themselves. What should they be looking for amongst their fellow activists?
They should have some sort of a bond. Whether they agree or disagree with whatever the other activists may be doing, if it's competing organizations, there should be that family where we can talk to one another, where we can share those strategies, where we can do what I just talked about, debriefing. Because at the end of the day, it is a very select club, whether they're competing against one another or not for the message, but they are brothers and sisters in arms. They're in it together.
All right. Dr. Jeff Gardere, we appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot.
It was a pleasure, Roland.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. Calling all HBCU alumni, students, and leaders, enter the Ford Motor Company HBCU Mobility Challenge and win $25,000 for your school. Building on their long-term support of HBCUs, Ford is looking to improve mobility in HBCU communities through innovative solutions. The winning program will receive a grant of up to $25,000 to implement their proposal. The deadline to apply is March 31st, 2019. Go to FGB.Life. That's F right there, FGB.Life for more information and to apply. Ford goes further in our community. We certainly thank Ford for being a partner of Roland Martin Unfiltered. Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video.